Let's welcome Steve Moore, Committee to Unleash Prosperity and WABC Radio host of More Money, and Budget Chair Jodey Arrington from the great state of Texas. Gentlemen, good day to you. Mr. Budget Chairman, I think it's a brilliant idea, a very brilliant idea. What do you think, sir?
Well, I agree with you word for word in your riff. I think what the American people, especially working families suffering with this disastrous and regressive tax of record inflation need, is not a stimulus check and a new government entitlement. They need to keep more of their hard-earned money. So I think the president's right on. This is what he is the best at. Number one, he's not disconnected like Biden from working people. He understands the pain that this administration's fiscal policies have created on them. And he also understands that when you lower taxes, as he did in his first term, you see wages go up, you see a better quality of life, you see all boats rise on the tide of prosperity. That's what we experienced on the pro-growth policy, economic agenda of President Trump. And so I think this is a very good beginning to what I believe and hope will be a second term for this president.
Steve Moore, you're always telling me, you're always reminding me Ronald Reagan's take-home pay. So you're going to have millions of service workers with increased take-home pay because their tips won't be taxed.
Yeah, you may not know this, Larry, but my first job was as a valet where I park cars at parties and wedding receptions. And most of the income you get when you do that is from people who tip. And the better job you did, the more of the tips you got. By the way, the left, this is another part of the story. Liberals don't like tips. They've been trying to get rid of the tip economy, and everybody gets paid the same because if you perform better than I do, you shouldn't get more money. I love the tip economy. I think it should be expanded. And I'll say another thing. This is a blue-collar president who wants to give a blue-collar tax cut to working class Americans. And I got to tell you, Larry, I've talked to a number of my Democratic friends. You know what they said? Oh my God, why didn't we think of this?
Right.
So I think Trump really beat Biden on the middle class, and I think you're right. In so many states like Nevada, this could be a real game winner for Donald Trump, both politically and it's good economics. It's a pay raise for people who work.
Right. More after-tax income. It reduces the tax burden on employment. It provides an incentive to work. It's a fabulous idea. Budget Chair Jodey Arrington, I just want to ask you, Joe Biden is going to leave a potential President Trump with roughly a $2 trillion budget deficit as far as the eye can see. OK, I mean, John Maynard Keynes would turn over in his grave. You have high inflation, low unemployment, and you're still running massive budget deficits. It violates every rule of economics known to mankind, left, right, or center. However, Mr. Chairman, it's going to be essential to extend the Trump tax cuts on top of this deficit. I know this is not the last word. I just wanted to feel you out. Are you thinking ahead? Are you looking at reconciliation possibilities if you get a Trump presidency and a Republican sweep?
Absolutely. It'll be the biggest tool in the toolbox to save this country from fiscal collapse. We're on an unsustainable path. You mentioned $2 trillion in annual deficits. That will double over 10 years. And we're going to pay in just this year almost $1 trillion to service the debt, which is more than we're spending on Medicare and defense. So the foundation has to be growth. We are spending and borrowing more faster than we're growing at a faster rate. So we've got to start with returning to pro-growth policies. I think the tax cuts and the tax reform is the centerpiece there. We saw record revenue, not just revenue to the coffers, but revenue back to folks in terms of wages and income. And but it's deregulation. It's all the above. It's America First trade. But you've got to bend the spending curve, and you've got to focus on the mandatory spending that's driving the debt. You cannot avoid that. So it's the Texas two-step. Cut spending, grow the economy. President Trump knows how to do that better than anybody in recent history.
Steve Moore, I just have 30 seconds. But why does the Joint Tax Committee keep re-estimating the Trump tax cuts to be more and more expensive? You know, it's $1.5 trillion a few years ago. Now they've got it all the way up to $4.5 trillion. You know what? I think that's garbage in, garbage out. 30 seconds, Steve Moore.
Yeah, the more they're wrong, the more they double down on being wrong. So they should be revising their estimates the other way and saying, whoops, we made a mistake. But you and I and every American knows this tax cut that the chairman was just talking about has actually paid for itself with better investment, better employment, and better growth.
You know, I think Fox Business hosts should be paid only in tips. That's what I think.
Yeah, exactly.
A fabulous new idea. Steve Moore,
I love it.
Thank you very much. And House Budget Chair Jodey Arrington, you're very kind, sir. Thank you very much.